Transition awareness breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition awareness breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Hi, welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. This is me, Eartha. I have a question. And, I know we can't see each other face to face, but I invite you to entertain this question. Have you ever felt that time is passing, and you feel like you're on a clock and everything is scheduled? Time is passing. At the end of the day, you want to turn it off. Isn't that annoying? Time is passing, and that's nothing new. But sometimes, at the end of a year, or at a birthday, or some kind of situation, we reflect and we look back on time. And a common saying that we often hear is, time is going by so fast. And it seemed like it was always older people saying, where is the time gone? Have you ever reminisced about when you were younger and you would see an older relative or a friend of one of the family, and they would say, oh, how much you've grown. Time has gone by so fast. When actually, we still get 24 hours of the day. Time is consistent. What we do with time, that's what we're going to explore. Our perception on time. Again, thank you for joining me. It's so great that you're here. Before I get started, I would like to thank Web Talk Radio for giving me a platform to bring Transition Awareness Breathing Podcasts to you. And I'd like to thank my producers, Mary Lou and Sam, for making Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast available to you wherever you are at, regardless of the time. Let's get started. Okay, so I want to let you know, I was browsing a magazine, and this is what gave me the idea for today's podcast. You may have seen this magazine maybe in a grocery store, or I got this at one of our health food stores. So it's called Mindful. You might have seen it before. And I got the spring edition. And in it is an article by Sharon Begley. And she is a regular author of articles in this magazine. And I just happened to notice that this was one of her last articles. And she usually writes about brain science and things like this. So I've just recently began to get this magazine of Mindful. So I'm going to, kind of look back on some of the other articles that she has written, because this article that she has written is called Make Time Stand Still, is her last contribution to Mindful magazine. But it got me thinking about time and our perception of time and how much time that we have. And she starts off her article very, very wonderfully about there's a grandmother, and she's walking on the beach with her grandson. And the grandmother is walking on the beach, and to her, it's a walk on the beach. She's done it several times before. However, to the grandson, it's the waves are clashing. He sees all the things around it, the beach, and it's just everything is so new. And so the comparison between the grandmother's perspective of time and the grandson's perspective of time is different. The grandmother kind of chunks the events into a chunk, the walk on the beach, whereas the grandson sees the events as separate entities, all the things that's new. And I think that caught my attention the most as far as mindfulness and the benefit of mindfulness. We don't have control of our time because, as I said earlier, time is going to pass, and we all have 24 hours. But how we deal with our time is the key in making a difference. As we come upon springtime, right? Springtime, everything is new, and a lot of people are out getting their gardens ready or getting different kinds of summer equipment ready. There's like an excitement for many people. Why? Why is there that excitement? I mean, springtime comes every year. The same thing happens. Or how about, have you ever taken a road trip or gone someplace new, and it seemed like it just takes a longer amount of time? And maybe even on a flight, it just seems it takes a longer period of time. And then you get to your destination. You enjoy whatever you've been anticipating comes into reality because you're experiencing whatever event that you're enjoying. And then it's time to come home. And it seems like the trip home is faster, whereas the trip going to the destination seemed longer. Have you ever noticed that, or is it just me? And then it's time to go back to work. And that time goes by fast. The vacation is over, and I've always called that the post-vacation slump. That time of going back to work, that first day back to work, and getting caught up on all the emails and phone calls and all that. And, after the first week, then you're back into swing of things. But that time, since I've learned about mindfulness and practicing mindfulness and teaching about mindfulness, I'd like to share something. And maybe you have experiences too that maybe you could share with your friends and your family, that when we slow down and take a moment, just like the grandson in the article by Sharon Begley, each of us can look at things and appreciate things in its small elements as we get ready for the next season in our life. We can appreciate the season that we're in. Because when we look back on our lives, oftentimes we say, those were the good old days. Well, the good old days came from the present day. And so if we could get our minds into the perception of mentally touching today, putting our hands, our mental awareness around today. What makes now a great day? What makes now exciting? Is it really the same old day? But then when we look back on this day, a week from now, a year from now, if this was a good day, can we focus? Can we take our mind's eye and focus on the present, this present time, and say, this This is good. This is a great time. My son often at night, he reflects and he says, today was a good day. And then he lists all of the things that he had participated in on that day. I think that's a good practice. And I'm going to encourage him to keep doing that, because when we rest, as I talked about in my previous podcast, we allow ourselves to not only appreciate this day, but it helps our brains, our minds to relax and not to be stressed over things that we have no control over. And it may be a stressful day. So we pick apart that stressful time and we reminisce and think or reflect, what part of that stressful time did I have control over? If I was stuck in traffic, did I have control over it? What did I learn from it? Did I learn, okay, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not going to go down ABC Street. I'm going to go an alternative route. So even in that stressful, mundane part of our day, we can learn something. It's looking at that time in a different view. We could have stressful events, different seasons. We're going through different seasons in our lives. What part of that season do we have control over? Do we have control over certain things? If we're taking care of certain people in our lives, do we really have control over people? Not really. Regardless of what a lot of people perceive, the control is in our hands of what we have, our choices, what our choices are. And so when we can kind of ease our hands and take our hands off the control steering wheel and realize that this day, the good times is what I want to concentrate on. The positive times is what I want to concentrate on. That is such a different perspective. It makes us really identify the beauty of what we want to concentrate on. Now, if we want to concentrate on the not so good part of the day, that's our choice. That's the time that we want to spend. When I was teaching at some of the big medical facilities, I was running different programs. And just to share with you a few things you may have be familiar with, I would run different courses, coordinate different courses, and part of the quality assurance, you want to hear feedback from the students. You want to know if they had a good learning experience. Was the material understandable for them? Did they get their course material in time? Was it clear? What could have made the course better? What kind of things made the course enjoyable? Was the temperature right? Those course evaluations that you do and maybe not want to do, but you have to complete it if you want continuing education. That was my job, to make sure people got those forms in so I can give them the continuing education credits. But, I could have a class of 200 people, and if I got negative comments from 5, I would concentrate on those comments. It doesn't mean the course was terrible, but I wanted to reach out and find out what made the course not satisfactory to those participants. And oftentimes, a lot of the comments were very constructive, Because, if you're running a course and you have a lot of people, you need that input from somebody to tell you what can be improved. But we don't want to just concentrate on the negative comments and make a generalized statement and say the whole course was a flop. And I take that experience and share it, because even when we have, shall I say, not positive experiences in our day, it doesn't mean the whole day was a flop. It means that part of the day. And we can learn from that experience. If we're interacting with other people and someone irritated us, our personalities clashed, so to speak, maybe it wasn't anything that you really did. If we looked at things with compassion and with kindness, we don't know that if the person who we're interacting with is having a day that is distracting, or if they have some emotional things going on, and maybe they're not as advanced as you are in perceiving things with mindfulness. And I think that's something to take into heart, that, as we learn about mindfulness and awareness and relaxation, that we're elevating our awareness of how we talk and how we speak and how we react to things. We're elevating that to a new level. And so sometimes, like when we're interacting with other people, we'll find ourselves, and we shouldn't, but we'll find ourselves kind of judging and maybe critiquing a situation. And another part of mindfulness is to get rid of the judgment. Use that time and pass on the compassion. Use that time and pass on the kindness. That is something that we can work on. So I just want to encourage you for this week. Take your 24 hours, your time, and realize that you have 24 hours. I have 24 hours. We all have 24 hours. But let's take a look at how we're perceiving time and appreciate the good times that we have right now. Because when we look at tomorrow, or when we look at next week, oh my goodness, it's going to be so rich when we can just think of and reflect on all the great and beautiful days, the times that you spend with your friends and your family. Whether, if you are going out or you're staying in, that time is precious. And we have a choice. We have a choice on how we perceive the time. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time and listening to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. I look forward to speaking to you next time. Have a great day.
Be sure and pick up a copy of Eartha's new book, Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's not just an ordinary coloring book. It features 23 illustrations to stimulate thought, relaxation, and creativity for anyone between the ages of 4 and 94. Increase your positive self-talk energy. Unlock new creative paths. Transform your time once or twice a week to create beautiful art while strengthening confidence, building positive self-talk, and sensitize self-awareness. Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's available now at Amazon.com.